You filthy mid-range players are gonna have the best time of your fucking life. What is up, you guys? Welcome back to a new video after a very long Christmas break. I hope you all had a great fun spending time with, I don't know, friends or families or whatever it is you do at Christmas. But now, let's get back to business. Alright, so as you might have noticed, we got a few new stuff going on here, and that is mainly to celebrate the 2.5 thousand subscribers to the channel, which is absolutely insane, and which is probably one of the greatest achievements in my entire life. So thank you all so much for those who already subscribed. If you didn't, here's the button to do so. Go do it right now if you like these videos and what I do here. That's the best way to support me. Anyway, new stuff I was saying, such as this. I mean, not this is just my usual place, which is not really the best for recording in terms of light, but this, the video, right? So yeah, nice to meet you all, I guess. I've also decided to put on a themed hoodie for the occasion. Maybe we'll do a partnership someday. Okay, now that that's out of the way, let's get this thing rolling, shall we? Okay, so what is up? What's the news? As you will surely know by now, during the first stream event revealing the new upcoming set, OLB1, we had been told that a grand total of 10 planeswalkers would join forces to fight the Phyrexians on their own turf and defeat Elesh Norn's forces. In the same occasion, however, we were also told that half of these 10 heroes would meet their gruesome end in the process. Well, of course, speculation started immediately on who amongst these guys would blow up in the upcoming war. Was it going to be an extremely overrated and surpassed character like Jace? I'm just kidding, guys. You know how much I love Jace, don't you? Or a completely useless douche like Luca. Okay, here I was actually being serious. Now, immediately after this bombshell of the news, Wizards also announced that Koth of the Hammer and Kaito Shizuki will be spared from completion, which is basically when a bunch of monster surgeons rip your body apart and make you immortal by filling you up with the mechanical add-ons, but also enslaving you by turning into a Phyrexian in the process. So good, but could be better. Okay, hooray for these two, they survived, but what about the others? Well, it took exactly 3 days for the first massive, and I mean massive spoilers to come out, revealing 3 out of the 5 doomed characters. Okay, I'm gonna stop for a second here. I seriously doubt at this point that you don't know what I'm talking about. But if this is the case and you don't want to proceed, well, I don't know, go play some Fortnite or whatever it is you do in your free time, but you've been warned, alright? And there you have them, guys, the first 3 lucky winners, Nissa, Rashka, and Jace Bellerin. What? What did you say? Jace? Holy shit, we finally got rid of the dude? God, yes, dude, yes! Anyway, 4 days ago, because Reddit is a magical place, someone called the Giant Moustache posted yet another massive leak regarding 3 more planeswalkers featured in OLB1, Kaya, Tyvar, and the Wanderer, who will apparently manage to dodge this bullet. So let's recap a second here. If Wizards already confirmed Koth and Kaito, and we now know this, well, 2 plus 3 makes 5, that means that holy shit! And indeed, taking out Koth, Kaito, Kayan, Tyvar, and the Wanderer, who'll be the 5 survivors of this suicidal expedition on New Phyrexia, we're left with Nissa Ravain, Jace Bellerin, Rashka, Nahiri, and Luca to be the ones condemned to face completion in OLB1. So, now that we have the full list, and the full 5 characters of the saved ones have been leaked, well, let's have a look at them and discuss them together. Alright, so first up is Kaito Dancing Shadow. For 2 colorless, 1 blue and 1 black, you get a rare planeswalker starting off at 3 loyalty with 3 abilities and 1 passive. Now, if you ask me, I see this Kaito falling a bit short when compared to his 3 mana cost counterpart from Neon Dynasty in terms of viability. Theoretically, this Kaito can net you 2 extra cards each turn, but to do that you will have to successfully land a blow and bounce back a creature to your hand, which I don't think it's really worth it unless you're playing something weird like Ninjutsu Umezawa or some big fellas that have abilities that trigger as they enter the battlefield. Sure, the Plus can secure a second activation to spend on the 0, but that only nets you 1 card, provided opponent has only 1 creature and you're willing to bounce back yours or play some dudes that really want to get direct hits, such as Gix or Nashi. As for the ultimate, I don't really see why you'd want to trigger that, since the draw potential is so much better in this card anyway. All in all, Kaito Dancing Shadows seems like a decent card, but I personally believe that the increased mana cost makes it fall just a little bit short of its predecessors. But hey, who knows? We'll just have to wait and see. Alright, moving on. For double colors and double red, we have Koth, Fire of Resistance. Okay, so this guy is a bit weird. He gains loyalty really fast, but only grabs basic lands in return, which makes him a lot less spicy in the current meta due to triumphs. The minus is a decent removal provided you play lots of mountains, which you only really do in Mono Red and Rakdos. The ultimate is okay-ish, I'd say. I mean, if you get to cast it, that's fine, but it's hard to picture a scenario where a red deck wins Enjoyer, hasn't already slapped you by turn 4, and if they didn't, chances are you're gonna slap them because they just run out of gas after that. I guess that if a big red deck is good, this Koth will surely make it more solid, but I don't really see why any other mono red decks should be interested in dragging the game long enough to play him. Conversely, playing him on a multicolor base would dilute his power too much and make it unworthy of the slot. Now, looking at past releases, there's certainly been a growing trend towards monocolor decks lately, so maybe Wizards has some big red deck projects coming up, and this dude would surely have a sweet spot in it. We'll see. Alright, next up is Kaya, Intangible Slayer. So this card comes out at an incredible 7 mana cost, but if you ever manage to actually cast her, she will be most likely worth it. With 6 starting loyalty and an hexproof for self-sufficiency, her abilities are good no matter how you look at them. The +2 is a decent drain that can get you out of pretty dangerous situations. The +0 nets you 2 cards for, if you ask me, a more than fair downside, while the -3 can really be strong to steal off bindings or titans or anything else from your opponents. All in all, if, and that's a big if, you ever manage to cast this thing, you're gonna get something good out of it for sure. I only have 2 real problems with this card. The first one is obviously the mana cost, because believe me guys, 7 mana is so much in standard formats. You will probably get to cast this thing once every 5 or 6 games, and when you think about it, the return you get does not really justify the time and resources you invest in it. I mean, look at it this way, for just 1 more mana, you could once cast Ugin, and we all know what that meant, right? So the second problem I have with this new Kaya is called Invoke Despair. If, and again that's a very big if, this card will ever become usable in standard formats, people will just start holding on to their invokes and slam them on top of Kaya's Hexproof, basically giving you just 1 activation of the thing, which for 7 mana, it's a very low return. Honestly guys, I don't know. I do tend to like big fat creatures and walkers as well, but they tend to be just that. Too big and too fat in terms of mana to fit in any decent competitive standard deck. Like, I can see this much more played in Commander for instance, but as far as Standard is concerned and other formats like it, I kind of doubt it. I may be wrong though, this is just my opinion, maybe this thing will be top of the meta, we'll just have to wait and see. Alright, moving on, we have the return of Tyvar, this time as a Jubilant Brawler apparently. So this guy comes out at 1 colorless, 1 black and 1 green. He has 3 loyalty, a passive and only 2 abilities, making him more like a support walker than a truly game-changing one. However, I just love this guy. And that's primarily because his passive takes me way back to the memory lane to the early 2000s when I started playing Magic and I was so into combo elves and I'd slam concordant crossroads on the board and tried to go infinite every game and just slap my opponent. You don't have to judge me, okay? I was just a little kid back then, no judgments. Anyway, this Tyvar will be in between awful and extremely busted, I believe. Bear with me for a second here, because what I mean is that I don't really see too many decks in Standard that will welcome this lad, but those who will get extremely strong benefits from him. I mean, untapping creatures' abilities are a really dangerous road to take, because they can easily, and I mean easily, lead to busted combos or spells that you want to pay with X mana, for instance. I'm thinking Dat Bloom Ritualist double tap into Sticky Finger, or anything that gives you tons of mana to spend you with Scrutiny or Profits or Big Ad Shot. I mean, you get my point, right? Maybe this is just my imagination, and surely this will not be competitive level play, but if you're just casually playing on ladder, I'd watch out for black and green tricolor decks once AllWeBe1 comes out. And finally, alongside with the great story reveal of Earth survival, we have the Eternal Wanderer. Coming in at 4 colorless and 2 whites, 5 loyalty, some self-defense, a blink, and an almost board wipe usable as she enters the battlefield. Okay, so I've read a lot of opinions and thoughts about this card over on Reddit and on other forums, and people comparing it to Teferi and Old Elspeth and just saying that it will not be that good, but to me, this is quite a mid-range bomb. Sure, 6 mana is a lot, and you don't have Flash as the Emperor from Kamigawa who, just blinks in at instant speed and cuts your opponent's big attacker's throats, but the 2/2 double strike creature can take over the game pretty quickly in Standard, and if we ignore Direct Walker's removal spell, she's gonna be pretty hard to deal with due to her passive. And on top of that, even if the opponent has a big flyer or trample, the +1 is going to be sufficient to deal with it at least until you find a better option. And on top of that, that is without even taking into account the fact that you could theoretically blink your own things for whatever value or blink prototype creatures back into their non-prototype form, which is pretty busted. And on top of that, if you really are in trouble, the Wanderer can easily turn the tide by almost board wiping the entire thing, and you get to choose which creature your opponent is not gonna sacrifice, which is really important because it means that you can also work around big fatties with shields and X-proofs and any other shit. And on top of that, she has a very large starting loyalty pool, which means that if you don't ult right away, she's not gonna be killed by bolts or any of that stuff. Okay, I'm done with the ends. Sure, Soul Transfer is gonna screw you up, but that's just one card that your opponent has to have, and also at the right time, because if it comes up too late for them, game's already gonna be over. There is, however, one tangible downside to this new Wanderer, and that is, of course, the mana cost. Not because 6 is necessarily too much, in a mid-range that's not really a problem, but because having to invest 6 mana without the upsides of a flash speed leaves you pretty much open to counter spells, which can really screw you up here. I personally think that this card will enter the meta pretty soon after the release of OLB1, but that's again just my opinion, guys. I may be wrong, of course. We'll have to wait and see. Alright guys, there you have them. These are the 5 uncompleted Planeswalkers cards coming your way in early February with the release of OLB1. As always, I will now throw the question back to you and ask which of these cards you think will see play and why, or why not, of course. Let me know in the comments section down below. I really look forward to reading your thoughts about it. And as always, a big thank you for sticking with me